I'm sitting here in a good mood, Trevor. I literally just watched the Mets make the playoffs. I was down on my hands and knees in my living room praying for the last out. I was in the walls of Jericho, the figure four ankle lock, leg lock. I was in hell. And it comes on the day after the Jets lost to Bo Nix, who threw for about 14 yards against them. I was down in the mud on my hands and knees, just like Shawshank swimming through shit. And I feel like I made it out. Thank God.
Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema, that is Connor Rogers, joining you guys for everyone's favorite alliteration, Mock Draft Monday, baby. It is back. We are 4 games into the NFL season, 5 games into the college football season, fourth of the way through each of these things. And, Connor, we've got a lot of draft takes that we want to get out there. No better way to do it than in a mock draft format. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. It always, you get that feeling like we're due. It's like, yeah, it's been long enough without a mock draft. I think it's time for that. And, this will give us a little time as well to watch even more of the prospects that you guys have been DMing to us, or leaving in the comments, tweeting at us, whatever it may be. I've been trying to screenshot a ton of them. And now that the week gets a little back to normal, after Monday night, that gives us some time to dive into all those players. And we're really excited for that show. But it's always good to kick off the week with a bang. And, I'm sitting here in a good mood, Trevor. I just watched the Mets. I literally just watched the Mets make the playoffs. I was down on my hands and knees in my living room praying for the last out. And when they got the last out, I was like, all right, time to go do a mock draft. Let's rock and roll, baby. I'm firing on all cylinders.
Just because we always love to do this, I texted Connor.
I was in hell.
Right before we were about to record. And I was like, hey, we just finished one of the PFF shows. Do you mind if we push the recording time back about 30 minutes? And you texted me back and you said, yeah, that'll give me time to finish up watching the Mets. And I went, oh no. I was like, if the Mets lose this first game against the Braves, this is going to be the most distracted mock draft you've ever done in your life.
I was in the walls of Jericho, the figure four ankle lock, leg lock. I was in hell. My dog was going nuts from my reactions.
Where does the Lindor home run rank amongst Mets home runs?
So I might be reactionary, but I think it's the greatest regular season home run in my entire life as a Mets fan. I was born, in the 90s, so I don't have the 80s to hold on to, which is when they were really good. And there's been amazing playoff moments, a lot of amazing playoff home runs, but it's the greatest regular season home run as a Mets fan, that's saying a lot. When I watch way too many of these games every year, it's really saying a lot. And it comes on the day after the Jets lost to Bo Nix, who threw for about 14 yards against them.
I wasn't going to bring that one up.
Just when I was down in the mud, on my hands and knees, just like Shawshank swimming through shit. And I feel like I made it out. Thank God I made it out.
Hey, Bo Nix officially enemy number 1 of the podcast, defeating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New York Jets as road dogs in back-to-back weeks.
He slaughtered the podcast. Bo Nix took a sword and put it right through the heart of the podcast.
Bo, I had you QB2 going into the season last year. You didn't have to do me like this, my guy. Come on.
Insanity.
We're going to get to
I didn't even think of that.
We're going to get to plenty of Broncos talk, Jets talk, Bucks talk, and everything as we get to this first round full mock draft that we have for the 2025 NFL Draft. Connor and I did the updated team needs episode last week, so if you missed that, a lot of the team needs that you will see on the PFF Mock Draft Simulator as we're about to bring it up, we explain those in greater detail throughout that episode, so go watch that. What else was I going to say here? Oh, so I'm in the process of sort of doing rechecks and updating my big board as we are 5 weeks into the college football season. I've got 200 prospects on the big board and in the MDS right now. And I reordered the quarterbacks at least, so I have the quarterback order the way that I want it to be, because we also updated the draft order now to reflect the current NFL standings. And I updated some things within my top 20 as well, but I haven't gotten to outside of the top 20. So a lot of that looks familiar, but at the top, you're going to see some new players in a new order. And when I say you, I mainly mean Connor, because right before we were about to record, I told him that I changed things in my top 20. And in the spirit of this podcast, I said to him, do you want me to tell you what was changed, or do you want to see it for the first time as we go through this mock draft? And you said, no. Let me see it for the first time as we go through the mock draft. So
I'm here for the entertainment of the people, not for myself. I want no control of my emotions as we go through this podcast and mock draft.
All right, well, here we go. Let's fire it up. We will get the PFF mock draft simulator pulled up. If you guys do not have a PFF subscription for the fully unlocked mock draft simulator with all 5 rounds that we see here now that I have 200 players on the board, you can do so by going to pff.com, getting yourself a PFF Plus subscription so you could run as many mock drafts as your sicko sex addict heart desires. We don't reference that too much, but I feel like I had to pull it out because too many people have been referencing it as of late. All right, let's select all the players here. Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome. The only winless team that we have here in the NFL season. They are picking number 1 overall in this one. They are now at the top of the board. Titans, we're recording this just to be transparent. We're recording it before Monday Night Football. So if they win tonight against the Dolphins, they're obviously going to be a lot lower in the list. But right now, we have them at number 2, probably close to where they're going to end up anyways. Connor, the question we always love to ask, you want the odds or the evens?
I think I took the odds last time, but I'm also a moron and could be wrong. These are things you're supposed to check before the podcast. Instead, I was on the ground praying that Edwin Diaz would not blow another inning. So I apologize for my horrific preparation for the most important show we've had in months.
My favorite part about, I know we're doing a lot of tangents here. My favorite part about baseball, I think, is how closing pitchers can go from immortal gods on Mount Olympus one year to just complete trash. You're not even in AAA like 2 years after. Because
elite pumpkin.
Because you correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Diaz like one of the best closers in the MLB?
In 2022, he had one of the greatest seasons for a reliever of all time.
Right. And now you're talking to me in 2024. You were like, oh, he's going to blow another game. It's just, that's hilarious to me.
There is a very specific club, and the club is relievers, hockey goalies, and kickers. And they all sit in it together.
Yeah.
That they could be elite one year and absolute corn cobs the next year.
All right. So do you want to pick for the Jags or not?
Yeah, sure. Glad we got there.
I didn't know how we were going to transition into it.
Pick.
Speaking of corn cobs, I didn't know like how we were getting there. If the Jags are picking at number 1 overall, Connor Rogers has a better chance of being their general manager to actually make this pick than Trent Baalke. So we know that the regime would probably be much different. But let's fire it up here. So as you can see on the big board right here, I do have a new number 1 overall player in the class, and it is Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Dude's just insane. How could I not? Tetairoa McMillan from Arizona. I have him at number 2. And then Mason Graham still in the top 3. I have him at number 3 here. So, Connor, let's get this bad boy underway. Jags, number 1. What are you thinking?
This is tricky, right? Right out of the gate. Because if I take Travis Hunter, who's your number 1 player, and very much in conversation at this pick, I want to be very clear, I'm assuming he is going to be playing corner. Because I don't think the Jags need a wide receiver, personally.
Right.
Now,
he'd probably. I think he should be a primary cornerback at the NFL level.
With sub-package plays on offense.
Right. You could always throw him in at wide receiver. You can't just throw him in at corner.
No. Yeah, go out there and see if you can run around with Justin Jefferson for 2 plays.
And the problem is he would.
Yeah,
he would do it. But
he would.
I don't know.
But I've also been a big believer that he needs to corner. You just have to get reps and refine yourself to be good 100%. At the NFL level. And the only way he's going to do that is if he, locks in on that for the most part. So that's in play. It's a need. I really like Will Campbell, and I really like Kelvin Banks Jr., who had a good week, which when he goes, we'll talk about that because you were at Texas this weekend, right?
I was indeed. Yeah.
Okay, great. That's going to be really good for this show because there's a lot of good prospects from there. This is tricky. I'm going to go with Travis Hunter with the first overall pick and say that he's a corner and a sub-package wide receiver. But I do believe that Jacksonville has questions on the offensive line that they need to answer because they are committed to Trevor Lawrence. And the way you help a quarterback right away is to build the best offensive line in front of him. And they got playmakers. Brian Thomas looks like a good one, man. He's hit right out of the gate.
Right.
Like that's
Right.
I feel like you look at him play and you're like, yeah, he's going to be a good one. So I'll go with Hunter here, but I think it's a more open conversation than people would expect.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Would you have done the same?
I think so, because we're not doing trade backs in this mock.
No.
And for the early sickos who knew that we were doing the mock draft, who already tweeted at me, they were basically like, "Hey, it's either Travis Hunter or you trade back for an offensive tackle. Like it's one of the two." I don't know how far you're going to be able to trade back to still get the offensive tackle that you would really want, because there's a lot of other teams that also would need offensive tackles. Like the Titans might need a right tackle. The New England Patriots sitting at number 3 absolutely need an offensive tackle. So I don't know if it's that easy for you, but
right.
I would have also gone Travis Hunter here at number 1. He's just too special of a football player.
Yeah,
to
in a
pass
class
up,
that
I think.
In a class that doesn't have a lot of guys with that star power.
Right.
We feel like right now.
Yeah.
Like you watch Travis Hunter play and you're like, oh man, that's star power. And there's a couple guys in this class that have it, but there's not a lot so far. There's really not.
So Tennessee now on the clock at number 2. It's a little bit of a if-then kind of statement with the Titans, because if they're picking number 2 overall, then Will Levis probably has not done well enough, and they would probably be picking a quarterback here. Although, again, this quarterback class makes it very interesting because it's not like there's these slam dunk quarterbacks like there have been in other years, like even last year.
Yes.
And I still, boy, I could regret this in like 2 hours. I still think Levis gives you NFL tools. He's just so erratic right now. But there are still moments every single week that you watch from Levis and you go, that's an NFL throw. He can do it. So I'm not totally going to give up on Levis here.
Okay.
You drafted J.C. Latham. You drafted Peter Skoronski. You got Lloyd Cushenberry. I like their offensive line. I don't think they need to desperately go offensive line here at number 2, even though we have tackle here. I'm going to go with Tetsuo McMillan at number 2 overall. I think he's wide receiver 1 in this class. He is simply too rare of a player, in my opinion. Another, like, getting back to the rarity. Calvin Ridley is the only wide receiver for them that is a full-time starter that's under contract next year. DeAndre Hopkins isn't. Tyler Boyd isn't. Clearly, they're not super in on Treylon Burks. So I'm going to go with a player who I think could be absolutely dominant for them at the wide receiver position, and I'm going to go with Tetsuo McMillan here at number 2.
No argument from me, man. I love the pick. If you're not going quarterback, you want to talk about a guy that you turn on the TV and there's star power. McMillan's got it too.
He's so good. He's so good.
He's very impressive and can be an alpha wide receiver in an offense, which is, if you're trying to aid a young quarterback, that's what you're looking for. So, like we said, we'll keep an eye on Levis's, progress throughout the year. All right, so the Patriots are on the clock at 3. This offensive line right now is so bad that they are legitimately afraid to play the number 3 overall pick in the draft. That is how bad this offensive line is. Now, somebody would be like, well, they're also hurt. Yes, they are hurt and bad. They've dealt with a lot of injuries, but I don't even think the guys that were penciled in as the 1As were, what you would typically want on an offensive line in front of Drake May. They have to be in on this offensive line class. This is a tough one for me between Will Campbell and Kelvin Banks Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Really tough, honestly, right now.
They're both they're both, I think, good offensive tackles.
They're really good. They really are. I'm going to go with Banks here because he's still my top tackle, but there's like the littlest sliver between them. And it's going to be a little flavor thing because I'm pretty confident Banks is going to come in with longer arms, and that's going to open up an interesting combo around Campbell, who is so good. But this combo was had with Skoronski, it was had with Rashawn Slater. It can go a couple different ways. I'm just going to lean on my board here and go with Banks, and that's going to help the Patriots significantly in front of Drake May.
Yeah, I think it's offensive tackle no matter what, so I think that you're kind of flipping the coin there. Cincinnati Bengals
I like both players a ton.
Cincinnati Bengals are picking at number 4. To me, it has to be something along the defensive line.
Sprint.
you're sprinting the card in, I think, for Mason Graham at this point. He
Yep.
has to be the pick here for them. Now, I will say this after, watching, because Graham's PFF grades aren't like they were last year. He's got a 75.5 overall grade, as you guys can see on the screen this year. He had a 90.0 PFF grade last year, so not that elite level. And I said to myself, okay, well, I want to go back and watch a little bit, because has he just been not playing as well? Not really. I mean, he's still showing you flashes of an incredibly talented football player. But I will say this, Kenneth Grant next to him, I mean, Kenneth Grant also flashes a lot. He is also a very, very good prospect. And I wonder if there's going to be some teams that actually have Kenneth Grant ranked higher than Mason Graham, just because of what he does at 335 pounds or whatever he's going to weigh in at. I'm going to go with Mason Graham here. The hands, the club move, it's all so violent. How he's able to just stack and shed interior offensive linemen. It happens is so fast. He's got a little bit shorter arms, but he's just such a talented football player, especially as a natural pass rusher as well. So Bengals need that desperately. I'm going to go with Mason Graham here at number 4. You're up with the Cleveland Browns at number 5.
Probably one of the biggest layup picks of the mock draft here, right there with Mason Graham. I'm with you all the way.
Yeah.
So the Browns. Oh man, the Cleveland Browns. This one is really tricky because they're in a bad way with Deshaun Watson right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what the solution is, honestly. It just feels like they've kind of made their bed with that decision, with the way that contract is structured, barring more legal issues, getting in, voiding guarantees. We're just not there yet. A lot needs to happen before that happens. I'm going to take the safe pick here and go with Will Campbell because I think this team needs a tackle really badly. The line got old and injured fast.
They do, yeah.
But there's going to be a quarterback combo, I would imagine, around this team in this draft class because I think the Browns are talented enough that they won't be picking at 5, but they'll be picking early enough that they'll be in range for these quarterbacks. But I'm going to go with Will Campbell here. So this is the boring pick that is a big need. I'm fascinated by how this ultimately plays out 3 to 4 months from now.
I am too, but I also, excuse me, I would have leaned the same spot with Campbell being the pick here. I think that's the right one. Carolina's on the clock here at number 6, and I think Panthers fans have been watching a good amount of our content, just certainly through the first couple of weeks of the season, because they're like, wow, okay, the season's already over. These last 2 weeks with Andy Dalton, it was a win against the Raiders, and even though it was a loss against the Cincinnati Bengals, you have a competent football team, and I think that you were going in the right direction in a lot of areas. Bryce Young was just that bad, unfortunately, and I think that his time in Carolina is going to be done unless Andy Dalton gets hurt. I don't think they go back to Bryce Young at any point in time this season.
No.
If that's the case, I don't think that you are going back to him next year as well. So I think his time in Carolina is done. I don't think Andy Dalton's going to be the long-term for you. I think you're drafting a quarterback again, sadly. At number 6 overall, this is a part that I wanted to bring up to you of the change in the big board. My number 6 overall player and my new QB1 in this class is Jalen Milroe from Alabama.
Whoa, hello.
Jalen Milroe has been
it.
Unbelievably impressive to me.
Yes, he has.
It started, earlier in the season, honestly, with how he was able to pick up right where he left off last year against some tough competition and look even better this year. But that Wisconsin game really impressed me with the big time throws, especially deep down the field. We know that he's got the rushing ability. And then what he did against Georgia, again, so impressed with what he was able to do. Big time throws in that game. That wheel route, it could not have been a more picture perfect NFL throw for that touchdown there. His completion percentage, an area that we have really, harped on with Jalen Milroe is he consistent enough in between the big throws? That is almost up to an 80% adjusted completion percentage. The areas that I really am still looking for him to improve are honestly technique stuff, throwing motion, having his feet set, like all of this, throwing motion kind of things that it's technique stuff that's fixable. The rest, dude, give me what Jalen Milroe can bring me out of this quarterback class. It's not a quarterback class, like we said, that there is a clear-cut number 1 overall pick there, but Milroe gives you a high floor because of what he is as a rushing threat. He is a true athlete at the position. He's got a big arm. He loves to go big game hunting with some of the highest big time throw percentages in college football last year and this year. And I don't think he gets enough credit for how low his turnover worthy play has been over the last 2 years. Has it always looked perfect? Is the ball placement there? No. Last year especially, he struggled with ball placement. This year it is better for him. The turnover worthy play rate is still pretty low. And Connor, what I've loved the most about his progression, amongst many other things, play under pressure. Last year, he had a 39.4 PFF passing grade when he was pressured. This year, it's almost 70%. He is so night and day better under pressure because he understands where the ball needs to go. His time to throw against Georgia was so much lower than it normally has been throughout his career because he's thinking as a passer first. He has improved so much. And in this draft class of quarterbacks, he's the one who I think actually brings you the highest franchise caliber potential as a quarterback for what the NFL is right now. We'll get to Cam Ward in a little bit. He's going to make it into this first round. I promise you, because I'll pick him at some point if Connor won't. So
he's my QB1, so it's...
So, okay, so we'll talk about Cam Ward, obviously, eventually, because he's my QB2, and we can talk about where he is in the rankings. But Milroe, again, for what he is, a true dual threat, the body type, the muscle on this dude, how escapable he is, how he could get out of the pocket, and how much better of a decision maker he has been this year versus last year. That's true progression. That's what I love to see. I'm going Jalen Milroe for the Carolina Panthers at number 6.
I love it. Plant that flag. He's a really fun player that, it's funny when you have the conversation about risers. Cam Ward was my QB5 coming into the season. Mm-hmm. So him going up to QB1, it's a big jump, but it's not, as insane as a full transparency. I had Jalen Milroe as QB10 for me over summer. And he's got to be top 3 to 4 for me right now. So it's what Cam is doing is wildly impressive. Milroe's jumps, in my opinion, that he had to make from exciting but wildly inconsistent college player to legitimate prospect is so impressive. He does the spectacular.
Yes. And I want to say this too. Jalen's going to have 1 or 2 more like stinker games this season. So don't come back to me and us when Jalen Milroe has a sort of like regression game and be like, see, you praised him and then he's bad. No, I think the good is going to outweigh the bad when we get to the end of 2024. And I think that even amongst a little bit more roller coaster, because he's still got that style in him, at the end of the day, at the end of the season, we're going to look back on Jalen Milroe and this Alabama team. And I think certainly if the first 4 weeks were any indication, we're going to talk about a player who could be the top quarterback off the board. Now, obviously, there's a long way to go. He's probably only played about a third of the games that he's going to play this season. I hope I'm not heavily jinxing him because he's a hell of a talent. I'd love to see him continue to get better. But that's what I think about Jalen Milroe in a class where the overall ceiling of a lot of these guys is generally lower.
Yes.
Milroe gives me the shot of a franchise caliber quarterback, in my opinion. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I am surprised. I'm glad I didn't look because I thought it could be Cam Ward. I thought maybe it could be Shadur, but I wasn't guessing him.
Right.
But Milroe, I know there was things you really liked about him this summer. So what he's been able to do a month through the season, it all makes sense to me that he's your number 1 quarterback. And this is a spot that, in this point of the draft for the Panthers, it makes a lot of sense to me.
LA Rams, you're on the clock at number 7.
All right, the Rams at 7. This pick is just simply Will Johnson. The Rams need a corner.
Yeah,
they need a corner right now. You just turn the Rams on every weekend, and it's very obvious they need a corner. And this is a number 1 corner. He's got ball skills. He's got instincts. He's got the build. He's got the fluidity, the speed. He's everything you want in a number 1 corner. In a class that I think might be lacking superstars, I think Will Johnson can legitimately, he's not there yet, but he could find himself in that class of being a prospect that Surtain, Sauce, even J.C. Horn was, those kinds of guys. So Will Johnson and the Rams is a very easy pick for me.
Cardinals up at number 8. This is a pretty easy pick for me as well. I already kind of touched on it how much I was also impressed with the highs of Kenneth Grant, especially when it comes to him being a pass rusher around 235, 240 pounds. He's somebody who I think can anchor along an interior defensive line. He's got to get a little bit more reliable when it comes to run defense, but he's got the strength and the frame to be able to do it. And the Cardinals desperately need to get better along the defensive interior. This past week was a great example against the Washington Commanders. It should have been a group that they were able to take advantage of, but nobody in their front seven was able to really step up. And I think that when you get a player like Kenneth Grant as the centerpiece, that helps you out a whole lot. So I'm going to go with Kenneth Grant here at number 8 for the Arizona Cardinals.
Not a lot of fellas that large move like him. It's really that simple sometimes. And the tape's good, right? It's not like we're trying to talk ourselves into him of what he could be. The tape's very good.
Yep.
Kenneth Grant, that's a fun pick. The Giants at 9. All right, this is where everybody kind of needs to put their seatbelt on and buckle up a little bit. I'm taking Cam Ward at 9.
Yeah, baby.
So we had 2 quarterbacks go in the top 10, 2 quarterbacks that the reason I think, not to speak for you, but I already heard you speak on your QB1, and I agree with what you said. The reason these guys go in the top 10 is because they are explosive playmakers with their legs that are growing into pocket passers and throwers. Now, Milroe's just impressive physically. Like, he's the rare quarterback that looks like he never misses arm day during the week.
Dude,
where you're like,
yes.
He's so jacked for a quarterback, which I just absolutely love. With Cam Ward, Cam is slippery. He is really a master at ducking and dodging and kind of finding his way through the pocket or resetting the pocket. I love the arm angles, the way he fits throws through windows, the velocity he can throw with in the middle of the field. He is such a smart runner. Cam, to me, this year is getting the line of scrimmage on 3rd down and going, all right, well, they are respecting my arm so much that there's going to be a free 8 yards in front of me. I'm going to take the 8 yards and get down. And then we're going to go, we're going to get a first down. We're going to go back into a drop back passing game. So this is the idea of Cam Ward playing with Malik Neighbors to me is what you should be really excited about if you're a Giants fan.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones he's leaving yards on the field with this wide receiver core right now. And of course, a lot of that affects Malik Neighbors. It's affected other players too. Darius Slayton. I've seen Ward this year not leave a lot of yards on the field. Yeah, he's going to throw a couple picks. Get over it. This is what, who else throws interceptions? Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, got playmakers throw picks. And I get it. Cam, there's still developmental aspects of Cam. This is the earliest I think I've personally taken a quarterback since we've been doing mocks for this class.
Yeah.
And I agree with something you said last show. Like, we might just have a quarterback class that needs a little bit of development. It's going to take a little time. The grades aren't going to be as high on these guys as they've been on some of the guys over the last couple of years. But I'm a fan of what he could do. And I think he's becoming a much smarter player. And I'm just betting on the playmaking with Cam Ward. And he's got real arm talent to me.
I thought you were about to give us the 5 Ds of Cam Ward: dive, dip, duck, dive, and dodge when you were at the beginning.
Close, and then I stopped myself. I was like, I know what I'm doing. Imagine Cam Ward gets to practice and, Cristobal's just holding up a wrench.
If you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge pressure.
Cam's like, all right.
If you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge Micah Parsons. That's basically
for real.
What the drill would
one
be.
more thing on Cam, too. He's got a little something to him at quarterback, and I just love that. There's a little bit of an edge to him.
Yes.
Look at Miami's identity changed this year. I'm not saying it's all Cam Ward, but I'm saying it's helped a lot. There's just something to him that really good ones have, and I love that attitude.
I think he's a chip on his shoulder type of a player.
Easily. Look at the background.
And sort of
right, exactly. 5-star. Right.
To your point, him and Neighbors would be the biggest, bad boys, you, we're coming in, we don't care if we're favored or not, and we're going to take care of business. I mean, if you're a Giants fan, you got to love the idea of Cam Ward getting to throw passes to Malik Neighbors. So I love that fit, certainly. The Miami Dolphins, again, playing here on Monday Night Football in a couple of hours, so their spot in this mock draft could look a little bit different. They're rounding out the top 10 here. I got to go offensive tackle because there's still a good one that I really like that's in this draft. I don't know if Ariante Ursary from Minnesota is going to go in the top 10. He's not
Right.
having as strong of a season this year as he did last year, although his game against Iowa, as you guys can see on the screen, it was a pretty strong performance for him. The Michigan performance, not as strong, but man, he is a big dude. I mean, you see the measurables here on the screen. Again, 6'6", 330 pounds, moves really well,
Yeah, he
especially
does.
when you see these pass blocking grades of 73.6. And so, it's a little tough for him to, get all the way down in his stance and everything, but he fires off the ball. He's got some quick feet to him. And straight up, it's just what the Dolphins need. You don't want to pigeonhole these teams too much into their team needs here 4 or 5 weeks into the season, but Teron Armstead continues to get banged up, and he contemplated retirement this offseason. Austin Jackson has not been super reliable for them at right tackle. I think offensive tackle is going to be a need no matter what, whether Armstead is still there or whether he is gone. So we're going Ariante Ursary, the offensive tackle for Minnesota here for the Miami Dolphins at number 10, which puts you on the clock with the Colts at number 11.
I think you got the right mindset too there for the Dolphins. It's just time, right? Even if you think a guy is a little raw, like it's time to really invest in this offensive line. And Ursary's got the measurables that get drafted early. It's really that simple with the offensive line. The Colts at 11, very interesting team here. I think I need to really watch the full tape size. I think it's been a little bit ups and downs at time for Benjamin Morrison this year compared to expectations, right? I don't want to say he's been bad. That's not fair.
No. And I
just
think
the bar was so high, right? Coming into the year.
In fact, like he's a really talented player. I went back and I watched a couple of his games because I watched a couple of the guys in the top 20, and I ended up bringing like Will Johnson down a little bit and then Benjamin Morrison down a little bit. Morrison gives you sort of the mold of what you want as an NFL corner. There are just too many times right now when I still don't think he anticipates as well as he needs to, because he doesn't have that freakish stop-start ability that Will Johnson does. So if a wide receiver breaks on a route in a way that he's not anticipating, he'll yield some separation. Like he'll yield the throwing window there. But if he anticipates better, man, the length, the size, he does have the long speed. Like I think a lot of what you would want to see is there for Benjamin Morrison. I do.
Yeah, I'm ultimately not going to take him here to the Colts as much as I think, corner is, it's up there for their needs. That much we could see clearly. You know what's weird with this team right now is that, and it's hard to figure out, is this an Anthony Richardson thing or not? Michael Pittman has not had a good season so far by his standards. And he had a really good game against the Steelers that he needed badly. But the whole sample size, and Richardson's been inaccurate, so I'm not putting it all on Pittman. But he didn't top, I don't think he topped 40 yards. He didn't get to 40 yards before the Steelers game, which for your number one wide receiver, that's pretty wild. And I think Pittman's a fine player. I think a lot of it has been because of Richardson's struggles.
Mm-hmm.
I like Josh Downs a lot. I know Alec Pierce had a hot start to the season. I think I might still take Luther Burden here and kind of spread this offense a little bit and go, okay, I'm going to move Burden around. Downs is going to play in the slot for us a lot. And I still have Pittman, who's a good player. But now we're loading up the offense with weapons.
Wait, you forgetting about A.D. Mitchell?
Oh, Adonai?
Yeah.
I did. He hasn't really done a lot this year, although I still think he's gotten open. I've seen
he's
from
good,
some of the tape.
Yeah, he's getting open. He's
got
their
two
trio.
catches, but I know that's largely because of Richardson as well.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's a good pushback on this pick because you used a second rounder on Mitchell, so you're going to go use 11. The thing where I'm stuck here is I don't really want to take Morrison at 11. I think that's where I'm stuck.
I might take Malachi then.
You could take Malachi. I don't believe in taking safeties that I don't think are special in the top 12 to 15 picks. I think he's good. I don't think he's special yet.
Oh, yeah. You hated Malachi. You thought
apparently I hated him.
Yeah,
but
you thought he was an XFL player.
This is the hardest pick I've had to make. I'm struggling with this one. I mean, could you make the argument that they could still use another edge after taking Latu? I don't think their pass rush has been that bad.
No. Because they have Quiddy.
Right.
And I think they have some good depth there as well. They could use a linebacker maybe. The only other,
Not taking
honestly,
that at 11.
and right. That's the thing is I think just talent wise overall, Malachi would be the guy that I'd probably take here.
You know who I would have taken until he got hurt? I would have taken Savon Ravel here. I'm not kidding. I would have taken Savon Ravel if he didn't get hurt. And there's a chance he could just be back at this point with how the recovery goes and how teams are comfortable with him.
Yeah.
But that's who I really want on the Colts.
I mean, you can pick him. You can pick him. I won't hold it against you.
The injury's hard.
Look, I won't tell anybody.
I'm going to do it.
Okay.
If you believe he's going to come back from a torn ACL, Savon Ravel is worth a top 12 pick.
Well, he's going to come back. He's not dead.
But like in full. I'm going to take Ravel. I'm glad we talked through that for so long, and I was just in a blender again. Yeah, I'm going to go with Savon Ravel. And I feel like Colts.
Oh, never mind. No, I was going to say, I was going to say you could take Harold Perkins because they kind of need a linebacker and that kind of could be a pass rush. But he also just tore his ACL. So
yeah, it's been a tough injury year for some of the blue chip guys.
It sucked. There's no doubt. Wow. All right, you taking Ravel? Taking
Ravel. Call me a madman.
I'm calling you a madman for taking Ravel there. But look, I think he's unbelievably talented. So it's. If you, again, like you said, if you tell me he's going to get back to form with the ACL injury, he's crazy athlete, brings on.
He'll be ready to play next year. It's the bright side is when it happens this early, it's not like great. Now he lost his rookie year.
Right. Yeah, no, he will be ready. I don't know if because that would be how many months? 6 months, 7 months. I mean, technically,
he's not going to get to run before the draft.
Before the combine. But I don't know why
that'd be remarkable.
Would. Right. Yeah, because September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April.
I did this. In my living room one day. I literally did this exercise. I think I found out about the news and I was like, oh man, okay, how are you gonna
you start counting days?
Really, it's when you realize you have a legitimate issue. That you're just standing in your kitchen and you're trying to do the math if a guy that tore his ACL can run before the draft. But we do it.
That's what we're trying to figure out here on this podcast. That's what we're trying to do. TD's Tutties taking it to the house, in for 6, whatever you want to call a touchdown, folks. One thing's for sure, touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Whether it's on the ground, in the air, from special teams, defense, we don't care how they score them. We just want to bet touchdowns, plain and simple. DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet on touchdowns. If you're ready to place your first bet, try betting on something simple, like a player to score a touchdown, right? I mean, look at Jaden Daniels. He's tossing the rock all over the place. They're scoring at will. You look at the Commanders game, you think they had a juicy matchup and say, oh, I think that this player is actually going to score this game. Throw $5 on the line. If you do, you bet $5, you get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet on touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code PFF. That's promo code PFF. For new customers, get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or just text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problems with gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, visit dkng.co/FTBALL. I might have that entire ad read memorized. I'm not going to lie. I think I could probably...
You came out so hot. Like, I didn't even know you weren't making a pick. And then I was like, wow, this is so smooth and so fast that he's just going right off the dome with the ad read.
Before I go to bed tonight, I'm going to stare at the ceiling and I'm going to try to just basically recite DraftKings to myself and to the people. I think I can get close.
You ever have work dreams or nightmares before? What's the one weird stress dream or nightmare do you have? Some people get it like they didn't do their homework. So it's like a 30-year-old adult.
So yeah, mine's the stressful one that I have is along those lines. It's not that I didn't do my homework. I get the stress dream that it's the end of the semester and I signed up for a class that I never went to.
Dude, that's freaky. I get the same thing.
If I fail this class, I will not graduate. I graduated.
Yours is like on steroids. I graduated.
I graduated 11 years ago. Like, why is this still a nightmare to me? I don't understand. But I have looked it up, and they say that is often a sort of like childhood, early development representation of you being stressed out at your job currently.
Oh, interesting. That kind of makes sense because I only get it. I get
When
the
the
same
Mets
one
are
as
on.
you. No, I get it. I get it like a month out from the draft and going like finishing scouting reports.
Yeah.
That's really funny that you and I get the same exact one. I get another one though that I finally stopped having about 3 years ago. But I was a waiter in college.
Uh-huh.
And for about like 7 years or maybe 5 to 6 years after it, I was still getting nightmares that they gave me too many tables and I forgot about one and never checked in on the people. And they'd just been sitting there for like 35 minutes. And now I have to go over and be like, I'm really sorry. You've been sitting here for 35 minutes and you don't even have like a glass of water. I got it for 6 years after being a waiter.
See, that's like the same sort of structure as the class one.
Yeah.
I want to tell the people to comment with their reoccurring stress streams, but I feel like I don't want to do that. Don't comment.
What has you in complete hell?
Don't comment on the YouTube channel to tell us about your stressful dreams. You're going to trigger a lot of people, myself.
You've had yourself in a social project. Oh, man, the government's not even paying us for this.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do it. But if you want to do it, do it.
I guess. If it's therapeutic for you, we're just here to help. This episode is sponsored. No, I'm just kidding. Pick number 12, Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers need a lot of stuff. You know, a lot of guys are hurt. This game against the Chiefs, it sucked because it's just a completely different game if Bosa and Joel and Derwin James and Rashawn Slater and Justin Herbert are healthy, right? And I think a lot of people look at this and they go, hey, you got defensive line. We got defensive linemen on the board. Let me tell you what the Los Angeles Chargers want to do. They want to run the fucking football, right? Yep. They got 115 carries, which is 8th most in the NFL. Yet they have the lowest rushing grade in the NFL at 153. At 51.3. Lowest rushing grade in the league. Connor, there is a running back sitting on the board staring at me that I know that Jim Harbaugh would give anything to having Chargers powder blue. And that's our RB1, Ashton Jeanty. I don't know if Ashton Jeanty is going to go in the top 15. But I can tell you what. He's about to have a hell of a college football season.
Yeah.
And certainly when you combine what he has done on the ground over the last 2 seasons, along with what he did as a pass catcher last year in a different offense where they allowed him to be a receiver, this is a complete back. This is somebody who, independent of their offensive line, can make things happen for the offense. And it is a player that I think Jim Harbaugh would salivate over. Ashton Jeanty, number 12 overall, Los Angeles Chargers. I'm making it happen.
Good for you. He's awesome. I mean, seriously, Ashton Jeanty is
must-watch
TV every week.
He had like 230 rushing yards this past week, and it wasn't even the most rushing yards he's had in a game this season.
It's crazy.
Stupid.
Absolutely stupid.
You're up at the Saints, 13.
All right, so for the Saints, I'm going to go with Nick Skirton here.
Okay.
I think that they're a team that could just use more pass rush help.
Definitely.
Honestly, up front. And I know we've talked about their offensive line that's been better than expected this year, but still needs more bodies. But I kind of like the talent level here compared with the need, rather than me just taking, a top guard, available guard, or the next tackle, that kind of situation. So I'm going to take a guy that is built to really play all 3 downs. He can rush the quarterback. He's big enough to hold the point of attack against the run. I'm just a really big fan of him. Like, he's strong. He's got really good hands. I love the build.
Yep.
I know you got to see him up close in person.
Yep.
This is a big time talent. He demolished Arkansas. It felt like we were kind of waiting for this game, and we got it. And to me, he's a top 15 pick.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an edge rusher in this class that's necessarily like a top 5 type of a pick, but
Right.
I can tell you that I feel like Scorton was having a quiet season, and I
Yeah.
went back to watch a couple of games of him as I was updating the big board, and I was like, nope, still good.
Tape's still good.
Yep, still good. Still a good football player. So
It's not a
I like
secret
this.
anymore, right?
And no. And I think
That's the
that
thing.
for the Saints specifically, I think that that's a really good selection. Dallas Cowboys
Thank you.
on the clock at number 14. They could have also used Ashton GT, to be honest with you. But off the board here at number 14, you snooze, you lose. Winning too many football games. Don't know what to tell you. They could use.
Should have signed Derrick Henry. Should have drafted Braylon Allen. Should have.
I think they need defensive line help. Defensive line played better this past week, but it was against the Giants, and Mozzie Smith made John Michael Schmitz look like a backup. I don't even know.
Which is very scary, right? Because I know Mozzie just got demolished for 3 weeks before that.
Mozzie's gotten demolished basically his entire career to this point, and I'm not saying that as a dunk. I'm not saying that like as a dunk. Like he has not been a good pro over the last 2 years. Specifically, the first 3 weeks of this season, he had some of the lowest run defense grades of any player. And this past game, they let him be a run defender by being an attacker. So they just said, "Hey, disrupt the run, stop the run by getting in the backfield," and he was able to do it. And it was a different approach, and it actually worked out for him. So I think I guess I could lean on that for them here. Maybe they go Deion Walker, but maybe I'm overthinking it here. Deion Walker just has not had that good of a season. I guess it's been
it's been uninspiring, right?
Yeah. I mean, he is just a crazy build, though. You know, that's 6'6", 6'7", 345. I mean, can you really teach that stuff? No. Is it going to be worth the Cowboys drafting in the middle of the first round to really help their defensive line? It might be. What about Luther Burden, though? What's the receiver room look like? Because it's Brandon Cooks, it's Jalen Tolbert, and not really anybody else after that. Is Cooks in the final year of his deal?
I mean, it's his final year in Dallas. That's what I'll tell you. I mean, he just doesn't have much left. Yes, his contract has 2 void years after this year.
Okay, so
it's done.
So I think I would rather draft Luther Burden III than stretch for Deion Walker, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go with Luther Burden III here. Luther Burden and CeeDee Lamb, hilariously good. Another update that I had here. So I'm taking Luther Burden for the Cowboys, but another update on the big board that I had here. So you talk about me being in Austin and getting to see the Longhorns up close and personal this past weekend. Isaiah Bond, other than Arch Manning, Isaiah Bond was the best player on the field.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Dude's unbelievable. I moved him up to number 11 overall on my board. You could pick Isaiah Bond in the top 10, and I'd be like, okay, I get it. His speed is that difference making. I really do believe that. But I do have Luther Burden still ranked ahead of him, so I went with him at number 14. Yeah, you're up for the Bears at 15.
So the Bears at 15, they need offensive line help.
Yeah,
I think
badly.
First and foremost, it's just a matter of they're in a weird spot too, right? Like you're kind of in this spot where you would have loved one of the top guys, Kelvin Banks, of course. I'm kind of sifting through everything right now to just kind of figure out like who I think would be the best available. And I like Savania a lot. I don't know if he justifies this selection.
Mm-hmm.
It's early for me for Blake Miller. Emory Jones is someone who's interesting to me because if you go, well, maybe he's a guard. Well, okay, the Bears, it's fine for them.
Yeah, they need a guard.
They could take a guy, and if he's a guard, well, they still needed that really badly in front of Caleb. I think Emory, it feels like, has been okay this year. You just want to see even bigger steps, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No, I know. And I had some concerns about him over summer. There was things I liked, but I definitely had some concerns. This is really hard for me. I mean, there's part of me too that, yeah, I get it's the 15th pick in the draft, but am I an absolute lunatic if I take a Tyler Booker here? I mean,
He's the more pure guard. He hasn't graded out super well for us,
yeah,
but I
he's
don't think
still a
his
good
tape has
player.
been that bad.
He's
Yeah.
had to play some left tackle for them,
Did he play left
Tyler
tackle?
Booker. Yeah, he's got 68 snaps logged
Oh no, he's got.
at left tackle.
I see 77, but yeah, still. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I filtered out the no plays. So yeah, 77.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got you.
Yep. So that could, kind of
Hmm.
bake into it that maybe his tackle snaps have brought his grade down a little bit.
Very, very possible.
I'm going to take Booker here. And I
Okay.
get some people who think it's a reach. I think he's a really good player. I think this is all about keeping Caleb upright and helping them run the ball more. I'm going to go with Booker here. I think he's going to be a first-round guard. It might not be at 15, but he's somebody that can play his status into, maybe not as high as Skoronski, but we saw Elijah Vera Tucker go in the top 20 at guard. We see this happen. And I'm a big fan of Booker. And Bears fans, if you think this is a reach, I apologize, but I want to make sure I nail down this position and get offensive line help here.
I apologize.
I apologize for absolutely nothing.
To absolutely no one. The Packers now on the clock at number 16. Two, I think, really good options for them here on the board. I haven't gotten through all of the comments of the Team Needs episode, but it feels like Packers fans do agree with sort of our assessment of interior defensive line and cornerback being two of their big-time potential needs for 2025. We have those here on the board. Deion Walker, very much a Green Bay Packer build type of a player, 6'6", 245 pounds. So he gives you the length and the size that they're going to want. If they're moving on from Slayton, certainly, I mean, even if they're not, just like putting somebody in there who I think fits what they want. Corner, Eric Stokes a free agent after this. Valentine's, I think, a free agent as well. Nixon didn't play great this past week. Benjamin Morrison's here. I think I'm going to go with Morrison.
That'd be their type of corner, too.
Yeah.
He really would be.
Because he's just got the size and the length.
He's
a little bit leaner, 190. Maybe that's below threshold for them, but I don't think
he'll come in heavier at the combine. I think he's well built naturally, in my opinion.
I think they've invested a ton in their front seven anyway, so I think Morrison's probably the better selection for them to give them the higher ROI. So I'm going to go with Benjamin Morrison, the Notre Dame corner, who we talked about a little bit before earlier in the episode. Just once he gets the anticipation down, I think he brings a lot of the tenacity that you want from the position along with the length and the size. So that puts the Ravens and you up at number 17.
I am going to take Isaiah Bond here. And I understand
yes.
They have yes, sickos, yes. I understand they have a smaller wide receiver in Zay Flowers, but I think Bond can be on the field still on the outside if you need him to be. And Bond's not as small as Zay Flowers. I mean, Bond is listed 5'11", 180. It's just straight gas. And how quickly we forget the success that Lamar Jackson had with Hollywood Brown, right? So Zay is a totally different receiver. He's not that 9 route. He's more create with the ball in my hands from the short area. I can also beat you deep. Bond
and
I would love to hear you talk. I would love to hear you talk about Bond, Trevor, from you seeing him. Bond, to me, this is a little rich right now, and maybe I'll get here, but to kind of illustrate the picture for people, Bond is more Jalen Waddle-ish of like, he's smooth. He can win deep, intermediate. He could do it all. He's just skinnier, but he's not like Xavier Worthy skinny. Yeah. I love Bond. Bond is just that a natural. He's a natural. I love Bond in this offense.
I would love this pick, especially because we're fresh off of watching what the Ravens want to do in their offense versus the Bills. They did it to a T, okay? They ran the football well, first and foremost. I mean, even for the first play, you have the long run by Henry. You get up on the scoreboard. You're at home. You're dictating the game. I mean, it couldn't have started better for them. But you could see what the Buffalo Bills over the last 2 weeks previously, we gave them a lot of credit for how they played. Oh man, who are the two teams that they just played?
Well, they smashed Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jacksonville was one of them.
They beat Miami in the game. Tua got hurt.
Yes, but it
And
was
they lost the shootout to Arizona.
so
to start the
yeah,
season.
yeah, yeah. So it was the Jacksonville game and the Miami game. The Bills play a lot of too high stuff. They want to keep things in front of them. They want you. They want to dare you to beat them underneath. And they
Yep.
tried to play that against the Ravens, and the Ravens went okay. And
Yeah.
Lamar had one of his lowest average depth of targets this season through 4 games, and they were very comfortable just getting getting the ball in the hands of their playmakers. They have that
Yep.
guy with Zay Flowers, and if you add another player like that with Isaiah Bond, that's actually the passing attack that they would want to have. So stylistically, talent-wise, I think this makes a ton of sense. So Isaiah Bond to the Baltimore Ravens, number 17. San Francisco 49ers at 18. We have corner, guard, tackle as potential needs for them. They played really well along the offensive line this past week, so it's hard to highlight guys who haven't played well for them lately as soon as a couple 24, 48 hours ago. I would still entertain Emory Jones here as a tackle guard kind of swing player, but Dominic Pooney, man, he's man in one of those guard spots, and he's playing really, really well. Oh, Takario Davis is going to be their type of corner. Davis is playing better. He was really struggling.
Yeah, the gate.
The first 2 games of the season, but he played well against Kansas State, and then he played a really good grade against Utah. So he's definitely on the up. This is a player who's 6'4", 190 pounds. I'm going to go with Takario Davis here. I wasn't sure if we were going to get Davis in this first round of this mock draft, but corner I think is going to be a need for them after this offseason, with Charvarius Ward being a free agent. And I think they'd love to get Davis in there to develop him as a starting outside corner. So I'm going to go with Takario here.
All right. Now is the Eagles at 19. So you went to Cario. I want to make sure I have that in mind. The Eagles at 19, they're in a weird place right now, right? Because they drafted Nolan Smith in the first round not that long ago. They paid Bryce Huff a lot of money. It feels like besides Jalen Carter, when I watch this team, they're still not great at rushing the passer as a unit together.
No.
So do you just go back to the well and keep sinking assets into making sure you could do that? Because from a structure standpoint, they believe in that. They believe in just rushing the passer over everything. I think there's a chance they would. The weird one for me here is Trevor. You talked about Perkins, who's a hybrid player, getting hurt. Abdul Carter's been okay this year. And Pierce has been okay this year. Like, nobody's lighting the world on fire in this group of pass rushers.
Right
now. In this range.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm kind of hung up on with them. Where now AJ Brown and Devontae Smith aren't going anywhere. So I'm not really looking for another wide receiver necessarily. Lane Johnson is getting older and just, he gets banged up a lot. And we haven't had Emory Jones come off the board yet. They're a really tricky team for me personally. I'm going to go with the talent in this spot, and I'm going to have them take Pierce. But I thought about Abdul Carter as well. And if both those guys don't get hot in the next month, this conversation would change for me.
All right, so you're going with Pierce?
I'm going to go with Pierce because I still believe in the talent of Pierce.
For some reason, I feel like they would also lean Pierce over Carter. I like Carter over Pierce, but they like the SEC dudes, and they definitely need to get better at getting after the passer. So I do certainly agree with you there. Jets are on the clock at number 20. Safety, Malachi is here. Your mortal enemy.
He's a good pick at 20.
No, he would be a fantastic pick at 20, I think. Wide receiver. Is there another wide receiver that I would like?
Emeka,
Wells, Kobe. Maybe I like Starks obviously more than Emeka Egbuka. So I think they could have a big safety need because Clark's a free agent after the season, right?
Yes, Clark is. Adams hasn't been good. They basically tells you what they think of the position as a whole, who they trot out there.
Yeah,
Starks would be a lot of fun watching on the back end.
I think I'm going with Malachi Starks here. It's
not going to hear complaint from
too
me.
late in the draft. I feel like for him to be able to get off the board anyways. And yeah, I think that he would be. I think he would be a good fit there for them with the Jets.
All right, Starks goes. Raiders at 21. Quarterbacks in need. Cornerbacks in need. This is all right. So I'm going to do something that we usually don't do this early. This isn't one that I would do here. It's one that I think they would do.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would take Shedeur Sanders here.
Oh, 100%. If you were taking anybody other than Shedeur, I would have been like,
I'm not going to sit here and say I think this is a slam dunk. I think Shedeur has played really well this year. I think he's making some amazing throws.
Yeah.
I still, and I feel this isn't a personal thing with Shedeur because I feel this way about basically all the quarterbacks, although Cam Ward is challenging this very closely. I still don't know if there's a surefire first-round grade on any of these quarterbacks. But this is a pick that I think the Raiders would sign up for.
Yeah, Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl tweeted this morning, Monday morning, that he polled a bunch of execs from around the NFL, and I believe the quote is an unusual amount of first-round picks, like in a bad way. I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but like there are less first-round grades in this class that are consensus than in other classes. It feels like that there's probably going to be, teams are going to have somewhere around like 15 first-round grades in this class. Yeah, something like that. And normally Jim was saying that it's somewhere in the low 20s. So it's going to be a little bit less. And I think the quarterback position goes into that 100%, because if you believe in a quarterback, you're basically saying like, okay, well, I think they're a first-rounder. Right? There's not a lot of like in between middle ground when it comes to quarterback evaluation. So this quarterback class being very in flux in the rankings, it makes sense. But you're looking at Shedeur Sanders' grades on the screen right here. If you're watching this on YouTube, he is playing quarterback at a consistently high level. I think more consistently, I should say, than any other quarterback in the country. Like the big time throws, the completion percentage, the play under pressure, like he's playing really, really well. I don't know if he has necessarily the arm talent tools that like a Jalen Milroe or a Cam Ward has.
That's the combo, right?
Right. And then to be honest with you, I don't know what the NFL is going to think of the Sanders family situation.
I don't know either.
I have no idea.
It's going to be interesting. Some people won't want to sign up for it. Some people might not care at all.
Right. So on the field, though, he has been consistently a fantastic quarterback.
I totally agree.
Over the last year and a half. Again, don't think that he's got like the world on fire tools. So I think anyways, he probably, even for just his tape, mid to late first round pick, I think makes sense for me. Where teams will have him on the board with, the whole Sanders family situation, I don't know. I have no idea. So we're sort of drafting. I like that you drafted him here to the Raiders at number 21 because I think it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, that's my thoughts there. By the way, I don't know if you're looking at the screen, but do you see how I have him as my QB4 in this class? Because it's not
Nussmeier, who's had a great year.
Dude, Nuss gives me NFL throws, baby.
Yes, he does.
And
he's the same thing with Shedeur. Like Nuss is playing quarterback at a consistently impressive level. But your argument about tools is fantastic because that's why I value Cam and that's why you value Milroe, and we push down Shedeur a little bit, and it brings us to Nussmeier.
And that's also why I have Carson Beck now as QB5, because it's like, okay, do I think that Carson Beck's a terrible quarterback? No. I'm also not putting all of this on the Alabama game, by the way. It's sort of now an encapsulation of what we've seen over the last 2 years. Can you win with Carson Beck? Sure. But how often are you going to look to replace him in any given draft year? That's the issue, is like, I don't know if I see a player with a ceiling where I can draft him and then say, all right, I'm good for his entire rookie contract. We're not going to find somebody that we want better. We're going to be comfortable with investing in him for the next 4 to 5 years. I don't know if that's the case. Can you win with him? Yeah, I think you can win with Carson Beck at the NFL level. But I think that's because his floor is a lot higher. I don't know how high his ceiling is at this point. So that's why I'm bringing him down. And a guy like Nussmeier, who I think will attempt those very difficult and complete those very difficult NFL-like throws every week. I think that ceiling is a little bit higher. It's just, can we raise the floor for Nussmeier? We'll see. It's his first year it's his first time as a full-time starter this year. So we'll see. Look, hey, the craziness of the NFL season, it's back and forth. They call it the greatest reality television show for a reason. It's tough to keep up with, and there's a lot of podcasts out there. This year, though, we are listening to a podcast called The Offensive Line with Annie Agar. Annie is an NFL insider. You might know her from her uncomfortable team meetings on social series that you guys have probably seen on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, basically everywhere because she's taken over. The Offensive Line with Annie kicks back with NFL stars, celeb superfans throughout the NFL season to unpack the week's lines, odds, spreads with the usual brand of sharp wit and banter that you guys are used to with her content. Pod's packed with all sorts of humor. It's a must listen if you're trying to keep up with the latest news in NFL culture this year. Watch on YouTube or listen on the Wondery app wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also follow the Offensive Line on the Wondery app wherever you're getting your podcasts as well. You can also access bonus episodes and listen ad-free right now by joining the Wondery Plus app. Who am I up with now? Broncos. Oh, the pod killer.
Yes. The pod slayer.
The Bo Nix, the pod slayer.
Oh my god.
Wide receiver, tight end, defensive line.
You just see Sean Payton at Colston Loveland's pro day, which is just his jaw on the floor and his tongue out. Like, oh my god, I gotta have this guy.
I think that they would absolutely love him. It does make sense. For as much as the Broncos need, I don't know, for them to draft a tight end, it feels a little weird. But they could agree. But they could certainly do it, right? Because look, the game against the Jets, there was inclement weather. I mean, it was obviously a major factor in this game and a lot of different reasons. But even with that being the case, not a single receiver had more than 3 yards outside of Courtland Sutton, who had 60. So you very clearly need someone else here. I do think that Sean Payton has been utilizing tight ends in a great way over the last 10 years as a head coach in the NFL, though. So I actually do think that I am going to go with Colston Loveland. I think that one makes the most sense.
I was serious.
People look at Loveland and they're like, man, is he really having that great of a year? Michigan's offense is not great. He's still grading out really well. It's just the passing offense overall for Michigan just has not been on fire. So 22 here, tight end one goes off the board. Very clearly tight end one. I think Sean Payton would love Colston Loveland. So I am going to make this pick here. So you're up with the Falcons now at 23.
Falcons 23. I'm going to take Abdul Carter. I want speed in the front seven.
Smart.
I want somebody. Yeah, Matt Judon. Hopefully they could bring him back after this year, but he's playing He's playing out his contract. They need more pass rush help. I love Carter's athleticism, and Raheem Morris needs this kind of athlete up front. Easy pick.
91.1 pass rush grade against Illinois this past week for Abdul Carter. He is the guy who, of those smaller edge rushers, like him, James Pierce Jr., those are the two guys at the top, for example. I do like Carter better because I think he is a little bit more willing to be physical with his off-ball linebacker background. So that gives me faith that he won't shy away from some physical play in the trenches at the NFL level. So I do like the Abdul Carter pick a lot. I agree with you 100%. This is just what the doctor ordered for the Falcons here at number 23. Lions at 24, again, Monday Night Football still pending. They could be up and down on this list depending on what happens with them and the Seahawks. Center guard, edge rusher. Man, Mykel Williams is their kind of guy, isn't it?
Dan Campbell's just can't get enough.
Oh, man. I think I might be... I think I might draft Mykel Williams, honestly.
What's stopping you?
It's him or Jack Sawyer.
Man, Sawyer's even funnier.
Why? Just because what?
It's just so on brand. It's just so on brand.
No, Mykel is...
Yeah, he's freakish.
And he hasn't put it all together yet, but I'm going to go Mykel Williams. Mykel Williams on one side, Aiden Hutchinson on the other. It seems sort of unfair that these talented of players get to play on the same defensive line with DJ Reed and Aleem McNeil and the rest of that defense. It's there, but Williams has missed some time this year due to, I think, an ankle injury. Came back against Alabama, but it looked like he still was not 100%. You're not going to see great numbers from him. He's still developing as a player. He was more of an interior defensive lineman last year. They were playing him more on the edge this year. So what we see, I think, from this point on, hopefully he does not get hurt again, and he just gets to get more and more healthy as the year goes on. Normally doesn't happen in football, but whatever, I can dream. I think that we will see better pass rush from him, because when you look at that Florida State game from him last year, at the end of last year, when they finally played him on the edge, that was his best game. And that's where he's going to play at the NFL level. So really good run defender, super long arms, super strong player. Great in run defense, is a high floor guy from Georgia, but there's still some untapped pass rush, I think. So him on one side, Aiden Hutchinson on the other. Pretty nice combo. You're up with the Commanders at number 25. Look at the Commanders. Number
Commanders,
25.
one of the best stories in the NFL. James
go.
Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury just lighting it up efficiently, explosive, so much to love here. Let's stack some pieces on the offensive line in front of the young quarterback. I'm going to go with Emory Jones in this spot. Hopefully we'll have some clarity by the actual draft. If we think he's a long-term tackle, we think he's a guard. I'm going to think he's a tackle by drafting him here. This has to be the number one priority for the Commanders right now.
I like it. I do like it. Buffalo Bills now up at number 26. Could use some defensive interior help, although they don't start getting depleted with contracts until I think 2025, so it's not like it's super desperate. Deion Walker is still here, so I do like that idea there. What about edge rusher? Am I forgetting somebody? I mean, I know they have Greg Rousseau, obviously.
I mean, you're looking in the Princely, Landon Jackson.
Well, Jack Sawyer's here, and I could like Jack
Sawyer. I did forget about Sawyer. Good call.
I do like Sawyer.
You know who's interesting for the Bills?
Who's
Jalen Walker?
Oh, yeah. I don't like Walker better than Sawyer, but
same. I don't either, but the Bills have just gotten decimated at off ball, and Walker does both. Although you and I have died on the hill that he's a way better pass rusher than off ball player.
I do think so, but at least he's getting cross trained this year. The linebacker edge rusher from Georgia, by the way, for Jalen Walker. Matt Milano's hurt. They're bad at linebacker. Bernard's been good, though. So I don't think I need to go like Stutzman here. I think I'm going to go Jack Sawyer.
It's
the aging Von Miller.
It's a very eat your vegetables pick, right? You just feel safe and good about it.
And he's just a really good football player.
Like him
on one side. You got Greg Rousseau on the other. I'll go Sawyer for the Buffalo Bills here at 26. Very curious if I get yelled at with that one, but yeah, Steelers 27.
So be it. Steelers at 27. I'm going to take Emeka Egbuka, get a polished route runner.
Ooh.
This is kind of what they're missing a little bit. It's just, and I know that because they traded Deontay Johnson, but now you just refill that role with Egbuka, who, in my opinion, is very smooth, very reliable, and they need a wide receiver, in my opinion, really badly right now.
Yeah, I am hoping for Roman Wilson to come back and be a major part of this passing attack. I know he did not play this weekend. Somebody told me he was a healthy scratch. That would not be good. Yeah, that would not be good. I don't know if that was true or not, but I was hoping that the second Roman Wilson got healthy, he was going to be out there because they desperately need him to be. Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin were basically non-factors in this past game against the Indianapolis Colts, and it again just remains the George Pickens show and basically nothing else from the receiver position. So they do really need somebody else there. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
He was a healthy scratch, by the way.
That's not great. Tampa Bay Buccaneers up at number 28. They could use an upgrade at tight end if Colson Loveland's on the board. I think they consider it, but he's not. Edge rusher. Which edge rushers do we have left? Because you got Kalijah Kancey. They have Vita Vea. They don't need those guys.
It's like the Landon Jackson, JT Tui, Maloau, Princely.
Yeah.
Kind of range.
Yeah. I think I actually might go, corner. Is there a corner that's worth it? No, Zion McCollum's playing well. What are you doing? Trevor, shut up. McCollum's playing well. Jamel Dean's playing well. Tyke Smith's playing well. They need depth for sure, but they don't need to draft like depth in the first round. Right. Harold Perkins is interesting to me. I don't think they do it though because he's just too light of an edge rusher. I'm gonna go off script here. I'm going to go with Shamar Stewart,
Okay.
the edge rusher from Texas A&M, the other edge rusher from
The other
Texas
guy,
A&M.
yeah.
6'6", 290 pounds, former 5-star edge rusher, and he's starting to put it together this year. As you can see, true pass grade, it's an 83.2 this year. I mean, he is crazy explosive for an edge rusher that's almost 300 pounds. You see that 5-star label show up in when he hits his pass rush moves. When he can keep himself clean, and he has developed a better, two-handed swipe move this year. He's getting better at just pass rush moves overall, developing that pass rush plan, but stout run defender because of his size and his strength. First step explosiveness is pretty nuts for a player of his weight. And him on one side, Yaya Diaby on the other is pretty terrifying when you throw in Kalijah Cansey and Vita Vea as well. So I'm going to go with the former 5-star, high-ceiling, freakish athlete of a big man on the edge at Shamar Stewart for the Bucs at number 28. I don't know how much he's in first-round conversations right now. I got him just in my top 50, but when I think of what Tampa would need and who they would go after, I think it's either Shamar Stewart or Landon Jackson. I think Stewart's made more splashes this year, so I'm going to go with Stewart here, which puts you on the clock with the Texans at 29.
I'm going to take Donovan Jackson at 29, the guard from Ohio State. I know he missed the first 2 games due to injury. I loved his tape this summer. I think he's looked good since he's been back. Jackson is a guy that can execute in this run game under Bobby Slowick. He can get out of the gate and pull. He's athletic. I think he's reliable. I think the interior offensive line play could be better for Houston, and I think Jackson is, once again, another one of those feel-good picks at 29. Even though he's an interior player, this is a need for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, we were talking about Kenyon Green when we were going through our team needs episode, and he had a handful of penalties this past week. Houston,
it's been just a tough go of it for him.
Houston leads the league in penalties and penalty yardage. Did not know that before this morning when I was looking it up before the PFF recap of the Sunday slate games. Wouldn't have thought that, but here we are. We got 3 picks left in this mock draft, but got to tell people, hey, if you are looking for good sunglasses out there, Gooder has you covered. I'm somebody who, I need multiple pairs of sunglasses, right? I lose sunglasses all the time. I never want to spend a ton of money on super fancy sunglasses because, 1, I don't really know if they're worth it. And 2, I feel like I just lose them all the time. Gooder's sunglasses, they're starting at only $25 a pair, and they're fantastic because, again, if you lose a pair, you don't have to feel bad about it. You just got another one. You're putting them on. You're good to go. They're great for a super active lifestyle. If you're a runner, if you're into pickleball, hiking, biking, whatever, they're sturdy sunglasses. They'll sit on your face. They won't go anywhere. They're super reliable. They're polarized. Everything, man. These are fantastic sunglasses. And if you have any sort of an active lifestyle, even if you just going out on a walk, hanging out, honestly, they're great sunglasses for you. If you need a new pair of sunglasses, give Gooder a try. That's Goodr. They're giving NFLSC listeners free shipping. So you can go to Goodr.com/NFLSC, use the promo code NFLSC, and you get free shipping. Gooder offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, 100% satisfaction. Again, Gooder, Goodr.com/NFLSC. Use the promo code PFF to get yourself free shipping on some really cool sunglasses. I'm up with Seattle Seahawks at 30. Man, where are we going here with the Seahawks? Could go tight end, but again, I don't think another tight end is worth a first-round pick.
Noah Fant Erasure? Unbelievable.
Yeah, correct. I actually don't know. I think his contract is up, to be honest with you. And I think that you could do a little bit better.
There's a fun pick here.
Is it Jaden Roberts?
No, it's Danny Stutzman.
Oh, yeah.
Just wreaking havoc with Mike McDonald.
Oh, man.
It's such a fun pick.
What an absolute lunatic he'd be in a Mike McDonald defense.
There'd be no stopping him.
I think I like it. How is Stutzman graded? I actually haven't checked. I haven't done his recheck here. All right, started out strong. Not so great the last 2 games against Tennessee and Auburn. First 2 games of SEC play, but he's been fine. I think he's been fine.
I think also sometimes linebacker grades can be a little harsh when guys are put in a tough situation, like in coverage and stuff.
Yeah, but what about Deion Walker also? Because it'd be hilarious.
He would bring the beef.
would on that defensive line. I think I'm going to go Deion Walker. For as much as I like Stutzman, I like the idea of, and the Seahawks defensive line is playing well. I don't want to take anything away from him. But if you throw Deion Walker into the mix, 6'6", 345 pounds, you want to talk about Mike McDonald just throwing everything at you. This is a player who could play anything from a nose technique to a 5 technique. I like the idea of this way too much. I know Walker's not having the best year. He's not having as good of a year as he was having last season, but he still brings you a mold of interior defensive line that you just do not find every single year. So I'm going to continue to make it strength to strength, and I'm going to go Deion Walker here if he would be on the board for the Seahawks.
They don't make many like Deion Walker,
Truly,
in terms of how he's built and
Yeah.
everything. The Vikings, maybe the story of the NFL season, incredible coaching, folks. Like, really, there's just no way around it. Just incredible coaching. This team needs a corner for the future. I'm going to go with Denzel Burke.
Okay.
I didn't really have to think very long about this one. Gilmore's getting old. They need another corner. Flores' scheme puts a lot of pressure on the corners with how much they blitz. Burke's a good athlete. I like his click and close. I think he's a fluid mover. He's not the biggest corner in the world, but he's feisty around the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pick 31. This is pretty good value in this spot.
All right, so Denzel Burke going to the Minnesota Vikings at number 31. Chiefs, 32. Surprise, surprise. I think he's got to be offensive tackle, right? I mean, as much as there are some really fun running backs on the board for them to potentially pick. I mean, Quinshon Judkins would be hilarious on this team. I don't really know how you could go anything else. There's not like a slam dunk, a tackle pick.
No.
I still like Blake Miller, although I haven't watched enough of him this season. Oh, my guy, Josh Sims, though. I think that they would like Josh Sims from Ohio State. Jonah's obviously playing well. He started off the year well. Not as good against Utah.
Is he a guard? We don't know yet.
Is he a guard? Right. Wyatt Milam has also been playing great.
I loved him this summer. If you're a zone team, he's built for you.
Would you pick him here? He's lower on my list because I have not done rechecks, but dude, he has an 88.7 overall grade this season.
He's a really good player.
Last 3 games, Albany, Pitt, Kansas, not the steepest competition, I understand. Above 80 blocking. Sorry. All due respect to Albany, Great Dane.
A Great Dane. It's a great day to be a Great Dane.
It is. All due respect to Jared Verse. I might just go Milam here, just for the PFF grades. Just a shout out PFF.
He was tackle 7 for me this summer, but a lot of the guys I had ahead of him are gone. Banks, Campbell, Emory Jones, Ursery, they're gone. Savania, but I don't know if he's a tackle yet.
I think probably.
You know who's had a good year? Who we haven't talked about yet, but we'll really have to dive into the tape. Johnny Cornelius on Oregon has had a very good year at right tackle.
Has he?
Yes.
Okay, last 3 games, pretty nice.
Yeah,
pretty nice.
Nah, I'm not saying he's justifying to be picked here.
Oh, I would never.
But he's at least. I wouldn't even consider it.
No, I'm just kidding.
I wouldn't even consider it.
Yeah, Johnny Cornelius. We know that you watch the show. I'm just kidding. We love you. We do.
Oh, man.
You know what? I got to stick to my guns. I got to stick to my big board. I'm going to go with Josh Simmons from Ohio State.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you're damn right there isn't. There you go, folks. 32 up, 32 down. Thankfully, this year, we don't have any teams that have, traded their first-round picks already, so we actually get to get all the fan bases here and into the show. So, as I clear my throat for the audio-only listeners, because I love you so much, Travis Hunter going number 1 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tetairoa McMillan going to the Tennessee Titans at number 2. Kevin Max Jr., the offensive tackle from Texas, going to the Patriots at number 3. Mason Graham, the interior defensive line from Michigan, going to the Bengals at number 4. Will Campbell, the tackle from LSU, going to the Cleveland Browns at 5. Jalen Milroe, QB1, off the board to the Carolina Panthers at number 6. Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan, going to the Rams at number 7. Kenneth Grant, Oh boy, we got 3 Michigan players in the top 8. Davey Salfaro loves to see it. Big shout out. I got Kenneth Durant going to the Arizona Cardinals at number 8. Cam Ward, second quarterback off the board, second quarterback in the top 10, going to the New York Giants at number 9. Ariante Ursary, the offensive tackle from Minnesota, going to the Miami Dolphins at number 10. By the way, the college football boys, they sat down for an interview with Ariante Ursary. So any Miami Dolphins fans who might be listening to this, or any other fan who is a fan of a team that might need an offensive tackle, go check out the interview on the PFF College YouTube channel and go see what Ariante Ursary is all about. They're really raving about that. I got to go watch it myself. I can't wait because Ursary is one of our favorite prospects, as we have here. Siobhan Ravel, the corner from East Carolina, going to the Colts at number 11. Ashton Jeanty, the unbelievable running back from Boise State, going to the Chargers at number 12. Nick Scorton, the edge rusher from Texas A&M, going to the New Orleans Saints at 13. Luther Burden, the third wide receiver from Missouri, going to the Cowboys at 14. Tyler Booker, guard from Alabama, going to the Bears at 15. Benjamin Morrison, the corner from Notre Dame, to the Packers at number 16. Baltimore Ravens at number 17, taking wide receiver Isaiah Bond from Texas. Tacario Davis, the corner from Arizona, going to the Niners at number 18. Eagles at 19, taking James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher from Tennessee. Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia, going to the Jets at 20. Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback from Colorado, going to the Raiders at 21. Colson Loveland, the tight end from Michigan, going to the Broncos at 22. Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State, going to the Falcons at 23. 24, Detroit Lions, Mike Williams, edge rusher from Georgia. 25, the Commanders, going to Emory Jones, the offensive lineman from LSU. Jack Sawyer, the edge rusher from Ohio State, to the Bills at 26. Emeka Egbuka, the receiver from Ohio State, going to the Steelers at 27. Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher from Texas A&M, going to the Bucs at 28. Donovan Jackson, the guard from Ohio State, going to the Texans at 29. 30, Seattle Seahawks, Deion Walker, interior defensive lineman from Kentucky. 31, Vikings, Denzel Burke, the Ohio State cornerback, at number 31 there. And then Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State, going 32. Holy cow, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the last 7 picks coming from the Ohio State University. We would love to hear from you guys as well. Let us know what you thought of this latest mock draft here, 4 weeks into the NFL season, 5 weeks into the college football season. Let me know what you thought of the updated big board. I will continue to do that throughout the rest of this week as we kind of move players up and down my top 100 as I get to some rechecks for a lot of these guys. But we would love to hear from you. Let us know what you thought of our discussion of your teams, where the team needs are at, and the certain players that we had at each spot. If you are listening on audio only, you can hit us up on Twitter at Tampa Bay Trey and at Connor J. Rogers, as well as Instagram. Same handles there. Connor, anything else before we get out of here?
Fun show, man. I mean, it always is. It's good to get one of these up and kind of show some player movement, the quarterback conversation, team needs. It's the NFL Stock Exchange, blender is what I like to call it. So always a good time.
I can't tell you how much more fun this mock draft even was because of how deep we went on summer scouting.
And that's the difference, man.
And how for a week 4 mock draft, we're not doing let's talk about players like we didn't talk about it all in the show. It's all about guys that we're just rechecking from what we thought in summer scouting. And it makes, to me, I hope you guys feel this as well, watching and listening, the depth and sort of brevity and quickness and I think confidence in which we get to talk about these players at this point in time didn't even exist in the show last year. And I'm really enjoying it this year, and I can't wait to keep doing these.
I'm with you all the way. I think it's totally changed everything we do. And I think there's a little bit of a unique aspect to it with our show. I know there's a lot of people out there doing summer scouting, and they're doing a great job of it. But in fact, you and I get to do this together. We get to have rankings that contrast each other a lot and have differing opinions. And then we bring it it's an 11 month process now with the draft class. So you see the player movement more. It was a lot of work this summer, but man, is it worth it? Because I think it's just totally changed what we're able to do and what people are able to see, and them getting their opinions involved and voiced. And I'm just having a blast with it. I really am. And I know at the end of the year, you and I will have colossal big boards that make the process even better, where, let's be real, a lot of networks, because they have to, they'll be talking about the top 10 players in the draft in March. And there's a world where you and I are nearing UDFAs or 6th and 7th rounders.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree. The depth of this channel and the amount of prospects that we're going to talk about at a high level, I think we're going to do it better this year than we have in years past, which is a lot of fun for us. Hopefully, it's a lot of fun for you guys watching as well. We appreciate you watching and listening every single episode, but including this one, the mock draft. This one feeds the families, and so thankfully our family can survive until the next mock draft episode. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.